You're back with Roll for Credit PAX Unplugged 2019. Here's a game that we played today. It's called Paris New Eden. This one is scheduled for release sometime in the near future, but we got to sit down and play a couple of rounds of the demo, basically half of a game. A full game would only be 4 rounds. And this game is post-apocalyptic, and you're all in Paris, and you're trying to survive. But it's unlike a lot of these post-apocalypse games, as we noted, it's more colorful. It's a little brighter. It's a little more cheery.
Yeah, it's green, not the shades of brown. In the game, you are trying to gather workers of different types. Then, depending on the workers you have, you'll be able to get buildings with different resources, maybe even more workers, or maybe just some slackers.
Right. So essentially, it's a worker placement game. I mean, that is what it is.
In my mind, it's almost reverse. Because in worker placement, you place them, but in this, you just gather workers and simply by getting them.
Yeah, I guess you're right. The workers are on the places, and you activate a power by taking a worker
away. Yeah, and you get the power in space. And then once you have your workers, you sort of do a bidding. So like the red buildings, whoever has the most red workers gets first pick at the red building, so on and so forth. And these buildings can, like I said, have different symbols or resources. And then there's goals that can happen that will say, like, if you have 2 bullets and 2 red workers, everyone who has that gets 2 points. So there's also this hate drafting mechanic where you're like, okay, I can take this, so you're not going to be able to get those 2 red workers. Or those goals, there's actually 3 open at the beginning of each round. You could be like, I'm going to go there to flip one over, so that goal, I don't have to worry about that goal.
Right, and since the majority of your people are based on dice, those are rolled randomly at the start of each round, so you also might just not get the colors you want, or you might get lucky, maybe someone else, because you have secret goals. Maybe they were trying to get a certain type of person and they missed out on it. Could be anything could happen.
There's also these buildings that have workers on, but also these permanent little tiles that you keep as well, so that you will be exponentially growing with power in terms of what you can do.
Yeah.
And those goals will get harder. You play through 4 rounds in essence 4 seasons. One of the big things that you also forget about, but it's sort of nice that it isn't as punishing, is food. Because, this is post-apocalyptic. You've got to survive. And for the number of workers you have at the end, you will actually have to feed them, and you will be able to gather canned food, but farmers provide food as well. So there's this whole risk. Well, if you're able to feed everyone, you can get a lot of points. If you don't lose any. But then there's this balance like, can I push myself to get those extra people in my town? Because I may or may not have the food resources for that.
Yeah, when you only have 4 rounds and there's a scoring round at the end of each one, you want to be able to score during that round. That's pretty important. I wasn't able to feed my guys in our last round. Clearly made some bad choices. But yeah, it was very interesting. I hadn't even thought about the way it does deconstruct the worker placement. It felt very cool. It felt very different. Definitely there's a lot of variety of the different buildings, so your strategy seems like it'll change up a lot about which types you can use and what powers you have.
I guess it just occurred to me now what might be a better analogy is set collecting. It's just that usually you don't get a power when you pull from a set, because you're sort of trying to get colors, but it's not the obvious, like a red and a blue and a purple give you 5 points.
Right.
It's definitely, that's why it's so hard for us to come up, I think, with a word.
Which I think is a good thing.
Oh, yeah,
because
absolutely.
It's always exciting to see a game doesn't easily slot into a genre you already are familiar with.
Yeah, the biggest issue I have with that is the player colors. It was like gray, white, black, and brown.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Considering how everything else is so colorful, that's like the generic post-apocalyptic colors.
Yeah,
maybe a rust red in there.
Strange choice. Not sure what that was about, but it was cool. Each of your people represented like a different building or structure in Paris. So cool theme, cool unique gameplay. Paris New Eden. Worth taking a look at if any of that sounded cool to you when it is finally available, or maybe if you have a chance to snag a copy somewhere right now.
Catch the latest from Roll for Crit by liking and subscribing, and don't forget to support us on Patreon.
Don't get analysis paralysis. Just click those buttons. Help us out.